Captain's Log, Stardate 201-008.13. Before I get to comics, a couple of miscellaneous things I wanted to touch on real fast. I spent a lot of my time this week working on Game Day for Star Trek Club. We did this last Sunday. For those of you that don't know, I do a weekly Star Trek Club, and I've been doing this for almost 8 years now. And our big party every year, we do a few parties during the year besides our weekly meetings, but the biggest one is Game Day, and that's where we meet for 5 or 6 hours, and we play Trek games, and there's people donate prizes, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work, but I really enjoy doing it. And this time, instead of doing it on a projector with a slideshow like I usually do, and in fact that's how we do every Star Trek meeting. It's really structured. We do trivia, and we do an episode. We play a game. There's usually Klingon lessons that Sarah does, and like I said, that's all with PowerPoint on a big projector screen. But this time, Sarah and I decided to do something different with it, and we decided to go retro and call it Game Day 1978. And we tried to make the whole thing like an old school game show, where I was the host, and Sarah was my assistant, and I wore a suit and tie, and she wore a dress. Anyway, we had a lot of fun with it. We played Let's Make a Deal, and we played a lot of different games, but that was probably the most fun, giving away prizes and trying to get people to pick between doors and prizes and stuff. And anyway, I'm going to put the link to Wes's Shutterfly in the description, so if you want to see some pictures from that, take a look. It was really fun. Wes is our club photographer, and kind of our unofficial photographer, but he always takes pictures when we do these big events, and they're always really fun. So go take a look at that. Second thing I wanted to mention is the review spot. I actually picked Geekvolution this month for his YouTube channel of the month, which was totally awesome, and I just wanted to say thanks to the review spot for that, and go check his channel out. He reviews a lot of action figures and other things. I think it's mostly toys and action figures, and he's got nearly 5,000 subscribers. A lot of people watch him, and he's very good at what he does. So go take a look at him, and like I said, I just wanted to say thanks for picking us for that. He put a video of ours up on his channel for a whole week, and it was very neat of him. So thank you. And I also got some birthday presents. This week was my birthday, and I got some presents for my wife, so I just thought I'd mention what I got. I got a book of short stories edited by Neil Gaiman, and I haven't looked at this yet, but this came out just this last year, so I'll read some of this and probably talk about it on a later Captain's Log. I got this great book called The Amazing Book of Lists. I love useless random trivia, and if you've been watching me very long, you know I love trivia, and this is a book of all kinds of random lists to give me more knowledge that is completely useless. And it's got fun lists like best TV shows of various decades, and lists of most memorable songs by various bands, and all kinds of fun stuff like that. Oh wow, this is funny. Who are you gonna call? 5 ghost busting methods. Anyway, and then this was probably the weirdest thing Sarah gave me this year. This book that just came out just this year called Night of the Living Trekkies, and I can't believe somebody published this, but it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a zombie novel about Trekkies filled with obscure Star Trek references, and if you're as into Trek as I am and into all 5 series as I am, I've just read the first couple chapters so far, and it's absolutely hilarious, and it's actually decently written. I don't know if the story's any good yet because I haven't read very far in, but it's got all these fun obscure references that I get, and so I'm like, hee, I get that, and it's fun. And then my favorite thing about it so far is that all these chapter titles are episode titles all throughout Star Trek. At first I thought they would just be original series episodes. Nope, episode titles all throughout Star Trek. The last thing I got was the 24 board game that's Clue. It's Clue, but it's based on 24, so you're in CTU and you're trying to find out who the mole is and what terrorist attack they're going to plan and in what room, and I haven't gotten to play it yet, but I saw that on the shelf a few months ago and was like, I'd really like to have that, so I got it, and that's fantastic. Okay, On to comics. I mentioned Spawn number 198 in the semi-monthly poll, so I'll just mention this again really briefly. Gonna get back into Spawn now. Gonna definitely start reading Spawn again because this was absolutely great. McFarlane is writing a really fun new story. It's not Al Simmons anymore. It's this new guy named Jim, but it's directly tied into the mythos. It isn't just like this new Spawn and we're forgetting everything that happened before that. I found out from a YouTube user, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, I'm sure, but called Shuidsuck, who posted a comment on the semi-monthly poll trying to bring me up to speed a little bit on Spawn. So thanks very much for that. He mentioned that this Jim guy who is Spawn now apparently is the person who Spawn transformed into way back in issue 3 when he was trying to turn back into Al Simmons. And he was all tortured because he was turning into a white guy and he couldn't make himself look like Al so that he could talk to his wife in his normal person. And it turns out that apparently that guy was a real person, and it's this new Spawn, and that's fantastic. So anyway, it's a superhero book now, and or at least that's how it's reading to me. And this new Spawn Jim, he's proactive. He's trying to heal people. He's trying to do something with his powers instead of just hanging out in an alleyway. And so far, I'm absolutely loving it. So I'm going to put this on my poll, and I'm looking forward to reading more and talking more about that. Brightest Day number 7, not a lot to say about this because there's not a whole lot going on in this issue as far as plot goes. It's a big reveal issue, and that's about all I have to say about it. It looks like Deadman is going to have to, these things are always so cryptic. Deadman is going to have to go off and help find the new protector of Earth who must rise, according to the White Lantern. And then the White Lantern is telling everybody who came back from the dead all these various things they're supposed to be doing. And it's all very cryptic, and it's difficult to tell what exactly is going on. But anyway, so that's Brightest Day 7. Shadowland number 2. Shadowland continues to be pretty good. This is a little predictable. This is a little bit where I kind of expected this to go. But it looks like, as people have been insinuating might happen, Daredevil is becoming kind of a villain now. And he's kind of going up against his old friends, and he's saying, you superheroes, if you're not with me, you're against me. And it looks like there's going to be lots of major fighting between Daredevil with the Hand versus our heroes throughout New York. And my favorite moment in this, though, is when Spider-Man shows up and tells Daredevil that black suits never turn out well. I thought that was great. Last thing I read this week, this is a couple weeks old, but I read Amazing Spider-Man 638. Now, before people start going, really, why did you read that? Let me just mention that I had no interest in this. This is the beginning of One Moment in Time. The guy at the comics shop that I go to, Pop Culture here in Lenexa, Kansas, he's a great guy, and he's always he's really smart. He had a really good point. He said, Captain Logan, not that he calls me Captain Logan, but he's like, if you're going to be doing all these comic book reviews on YouTube, you should probably sometimes read things that you don't necessarily like. And since this is a big deal and a lot of people are probably going to be talking about it, you should maybe read this issue. So I'm probably not going to keep getting this, but I thought I would at least read this one and tell people if it really is as bad as I thought maybe it would be. I don't think bad is the right word to use for this, but it's jarring, I think is the best way I can put it. And it's maybe kind of what you would expect. This issue is basically Quesada trying to show you what happened in this alternate version of the day that Spider-Man and Mary Jane were supposed to get married. And what's jarring about it, and by the way, what made them end up not getting married due to, what happened in One More Day. Well, what's strange is, and what makes it jarring is that he's using actual panels kind of as padding from Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 1. And it makes the whole thing funky to me because Quesada's writing, of course, is naturally very different from what was going on in Amazing Spider-Man number 21, but he's writing all these scenes that are supposed to be happening with the scenes in Annual 21, and so the dialogue doesn't match up because people were talking a lot differently in that time period, and he's got Peter Parker making some pop culture references that he wouldn't have made in that time period. Now, these are characters who don't really age, and so it isn't a big deal, of course, that he would go back to this period and add new stuff, and suddenly Peter Parker would be talking about stuff that he couldn't have talked about back then, if he was doing the entire issue himself. But padding it with these events that he just took panel for panel the way they were in Annual 21, it makes the whole thing feel weird and not work quite right. I mean, his drawing is a lot darker, and his dialogue is a lot darker and grittier, and it makes it feel like the two things are not very connected, even though they're supposed to be, during the same day. So anyway, that's what happened with that, and like I said, I don't think I'm going to keep reading this, but at least I have, read a book that I didn't think I'd like and told you what I thought of it. Okay, Carlos over on Facebook, I'm not sure if he has a YouTube name or what his YouTube name is, but he watches and comments a lot through our Facebook, through Geekvolution's Facebook, and he asked me to talk a little bit more about Avengers, because Vince and I did a video about what we thought about the big Marvel continuity in movies, but he said, you didn't talk a lot about Avengers itself. So obviously, my views don't necessarily reflect Vince's views, but here's how I feel about the Avengers movie in and of itself. Like I said, I do feel like the whole continuity thing is a little bit gimmicky. I know a lot of people don't agree with me on this, but I do think they're being somewhat gimmicky through the movies leading up to Avengers. Having said that, of course I'm excited about Avengers, and I'm actually much more excited now that it's been revealed that Tony Stark is definitely going to be in the movie. And see, that's the thing that I was worried about, is that I was afraid that Robert Downey wasn't actually going to be in the movie, and there was some rumor for a while that they weren't going to be able to afford to pay him. I don't know how much he's going to be in it, but, he was at Comic-Con, and he was on stage with the whole cast, and he was introducing people and making a big deal of how cool this movie was going to be. And so I think part of why, and we didn't talk about this in that video, and maybe we should have, part of why before I was kind of not real keen on this whole movie continuity idea is that I felt like they were going to get to the Avengers and they were going to leave out some of the cool stuff, and it doesn't look like that's going to happen, and so I'm a lot more excited about it. No, I mean, we're going to, all these movies are going to culminate into the Avengers, and we're going to get to see Captain America and Iron Man and Thor and all these guys together. And no, of course, the Marvel fan of me cannot help but be really giddy that that's going to happen, and that's very exciting. I think part of it is just that I'm worried that having to wait another couple of years for it, I'm not going to be as excited when it comes as I am now. But I don't know. As we see more stuff from it, I probably won't be able to help but be a little Marvel fanboy about it. I don't mean to ever be that way, but just, you put Captain America and Iron Man and Thor and Hulk and everybody in the same movie, and like any comic book fan, I'm going to go, yay. I only watched one movie this week. I watched Tom Hanks's Big, which is a movie I haven't watched since I was a kid, really. And the reason I'm bringing it up is because I'm going to make a game called the 7 Degrees of Barry Sonnenfeld, because I mentioned Barry Sonnenfeld last week when I was talking about Pushing Daisies, and Barry Sonnenfeld was the director for the first episode of that and one of the executive producers of that show. And lo and behold, Barry Sonnenfeld was the lead what was it? He was the photography director for Big, and I was like, okay, he's just the photography director, so certainly it's not gonna be that. It's not gonna look that tickish or whatever. And then there was this really strange coincidence between that and the live action Tick, and I'm gonna make another part, and then I'll tell you what that was.